About time. I've been waiting for this.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Heroes and Villains podcast. I'm your host, Cold Killer Drew. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm definitely going to be discussing one of my favorite characters of the last 10 to 15 years. We're going to be dealing with Kratos and the whole God of War series. So, to start off, God of War Ragnarok came out about 2 months ago. So, it's been about most people have played it. A lot of people have kind of gone to the end of it, but there's going to be a few spoilers. So if you haven't played the game yet, do not watch this video yet. Watch it when you play it. Trust me, you definitely enjoy it. But let's go back to our main character for the day. So Kratos. So he is a Spartan warrior from Greece, and he is dealing with the first game. He is dealing with trying to find his brother. So his brother, basically, we find out that his brother was kidnapped, and it's a whole elaborate scheme that Hades, his wife Persephone, and the Titan Atlas are trying to destroy the world by imprisoning Helios, who's the god of the sun, and trying to create basically a new paradigm where she is resentful for having to marry Hades, and of course Atlas, who's a Titan, has of course beef with Olympus. So he has to deal with that in the original God of War, and then he comes to find out how his brother's being used, and as well why he's being used. Again, it's dealing with prophecy where he's tattooed person has been prophesied is going to be the one that destroys Olympus. So Zeus, Ares, a lot of gods are basically involved, but in the first game he is essentially a servant of the gods, as he ends up basically being used by Athena and Zeus, and wields the power he gets from Pandora's box to be able to fight Ares, and who he eventually kills, but with a lot of resentment, because he was basically tricked into killing his family. I don't know how he did it, but I think that because of him wanting power, him desiring to basically again, I can't really blame him. Who wouldn't want power? But at what cost? As always, nothing is free in this world. But he ends up having to kill his own family, which haunts him going into God of War 2, where he tried to kill himself but was basically rewarded for his service by Zeus and Athena, and he was made the new God of War. So when we come to God of War 2, you're dealing with a Kratos who now indulges in essentially drink, women, the good stuff. But he is forced, essentially, now he is playing the new God of War, and he essentially ushers a new era of prosperity for the Sparta part of Greece, and as they wage war against the other city-states, he is essentially their god. But because he's haunted by his past memories, he's not at peace with himself, so he's just looking to vent, looking to at least do battle in order to curb that negative emotion that welled up inside him. So we see him go into try to help Sparta win a particular war against the Athenians, which is funny. So Athena tried to warn him of not to do what he was about to do, but he says, nah, fuck whatever you talking about, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. So he goes down there to basically Athens, and he battles a big ass statue, which I did like. That was pretty cool, I would say. Battles that big ass statue, and then once he does that, he ends up being tricked, having trouble with that statue. So he ends up being basically Zeus ends up trying to help him. Where he's like, yeah, pour your power into this sword and you'll be able to fight the big ass statue. So he does it, and basically he's able to defeat the statue, but the only issue is that he's poured all of his god power into that statue. So the moment he does that, Zeus appears, and he's like, yeah, I tricked your ass, and he gets stabbed with that big ass blade, and Zeus goes into that, you will never be the king of Olympus. And he's like shit. He's what I'm saying, like he's being tricked, and so now he goes through literal hell, but Gaia, the Earth Titan, ends up helping him, ends up basically healing him, and now he has to go on a journey to try to stop his death. So, which is pretty cool. I thought it was really good. The game was really it's not the most original idea, but I think it fit of what we were trying to what they were trying to achieve with this storyline. So we end up going through that journey and having to basically fight our way through all the way to the Sisters of Fate, who are basically in cahoots with Zeus, even though they control time. So I don't know, people with power will always be in cahoots because it's about the power at the end of the day. He ends up killing them and ends up being able to go back in time and be able to start fighting Zeus once he was killing his previous self from the previous timeline. So they get into a fight, what I'm saying, they go at it, and ends up with him beating up Zeus. And as he was about to deliver the final blow, Athena shows up and tries to protect Zeus, and him and Athena have this amicable relationship, probably the best that he had of any other god in the Olympus pantheon. But she doesn't want to get out the way, and she ends up stepping in the way of a strike from Kratos and ends up getting stabbed. But once that happened, she tells him that no father should ever have to kill, no son should ever have to kill their father, sort of thing. And he's like, I have no father, kind of shit. So which was pretty interesting because they did a good job of hiding that fact throughout the game. So it was something that came out of left field in my eyes, but it kind of made sense of the attention that why Zeus paid that much attention to him as well as Athena. So from there, she dies, blows up into some green powder kind of thing. But then now he's like, it's basically war, like his vengeance now. Before he was just trying to avenge himself, but now it become where he wanted to actually destroy Olympus. So he ends up going, because now he has a power of time. Remember, he killed the Sisters of Fate, so now he has a power of time. So he's gonna go back in time to when the Titans lost against the gods, and bring those Titans into the original timeline to fight against the current gods of Olympus. So this takes us to God of War 3. This game is all about fighting, action. My personal favorite, other than God of War 2, which was more about the storyline, but this did have a lot about the storyline, but I think the action really outdid itself in this game. So here, this is a war. I'd say I call it the war game of the war part of the God of War series. So this is just pure war. You have the Titans and Kratos versus the remaining gods of Olympus. Here you get to kill Poseidon, Hades, Hermes, Helios, which was pretty sick the way his head got ripped off, but pretty crazy. I don't think they'll put that in the game in this day and age. But I loved it. So you go from that, and also having to be betrayed by Gaia and the Titans, and having to kill Kronos, Gaia, and all that sort of thing. And at the end, you go through battles, a lot of fighting, and you end up fighting the big final boss battle against Zeus, and having to essentially learn that the Pandora's box holds the power of hope, which is the best power to fight against the gods. So Kratos, by way of opening Pandora's box, found out that basically he had the power of hope, which was able to kill gods, as we find out through Athena's ghost that appears throughout the game in God of War 3, but at the end. But he ends up killing that hope, in a sense, by stabbing himself, because Athena wanted to essentially control that hope, as she wanted to rule using that hope for that humans should have in order to fight against the gods. So he ends up saying, nah, fuck that. I ain't letting you have this shit. So he stabs himself, and game ends like, man, I thought he's gonna die or something. He's dead, and I really hate games where the main character dies like that. But At the end you see blood heading down the cliff, which meant it's another cliffhanger, and you already know there's gonna be a different story. So there was a game that comes out after God of War 3, but I'm not really gonna talk about because it's more of like it's more like canon, maybe like something before the events of God of War 2. But so now from here we go to the new God of War 4, and now we find an older Kratos who's escaped from Greece into Midgard, and now we're dealing with the Norse mythology. So when it comes to God of War 4, it's you see he has a son, and it starts off with him having to bury his dead wife. And then like, damn, he's not gonna hit more circles no more, if you know what I'm saying. But he ends up having to bury his dead wife and now raise his son in a way that doesn't want to tell his son who he really is and what he's been through, because he kind of wants him to live a different life than he has. But at the same time, he is forced to by the environment. Again, you're gonna fight some more gods. I mean, you fight somebody known as the Stranger in the beginning, but you come to find out he's Balder, the son of Odin. So you start fighting him, and you're on a journey with your wife's ashes to the highest peak in all realms. So he's after you. You don't know why, but which I really thought it was great because it kind of set the tone. And having to find meeting Mimir, and which was a great side character. Really ingenious of how they pulled that off with the head hanging over Kratos' waist as he talks to you and lets you know about the the whole mythology, the whole stories about the Norse gods and that sort of thing, of the history of all the 9 realms, which is ingenious. But the main story really focuses on Kratos trying to mature, trying to grow from who he was, but still fighting those demons. But he's eventually forced to confront who he really is throughout the journey of trying to scatter the ashes of his wife. But I thought it just included a lot. Of course, you end up killing Balder at the end, and you find out that the Witch of the Woods, Freyr, is a goddess, Freya or Frigg. But she ends up becoming your enemy because you killed him, because he wouldn't let go of his hate. And you end up becoming the object of Freya's hate at the end. But as you said, the whole entire theme of the game is to be better. You know what I'm saying? But I think God of War 4 really showed us how Kratos wanted to mature as a person, as a god. But from there we get to God of War Ragnarok. So until the last installment of the game that just, of course, as you all may know, that it came out just a couple months ago. For me, probably not the best in terms of odds. What I wanted to see, because I like a lot more action, but I did kind of like of what the message of the God of War Ragnarok was trying to say. Of course, now with Ragnarok, that is basically the annihilation of, it means the great war between the gods. And with Ragnarok here, you have Kratos who's trying to essentially, he finds out at the end of the previous God of War 4 that he is supposed to die. So they're all trying to fight a sense of, you're fighting a teenage Atreus, you're fighting a worried older Kratos who are trying to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to try to avoid Ragnarok, because Kratos doesn't want Atreus to be involved in the war. And so when we go through that journey, he ends up having to reconcile with Freya, who has to reconcile other stuff about that, meeting Odin and his craftiness, and Thor, who is also a confused, conflicted person as well. His story was really good as well. You can see how Odin had kind of shaped him into being this murderous machine that was conflicted with himself, and having to kill people that were from his mother's people, but following and being an object of his father's scorn as well. So it did a really good job. I thought Thor was really good. I mean, at first I was like, man, we're going to be fighting a fast slob all game. But I did like how they, because I didn't know how they were going to use Thor. But as you know, the God of War 4 really pushed him being this evil Acer god, but I thought it really showed kind of his depth of his characters. They really did a good job of doing that. So I really like when we go with Kratos in this story is that he is basically trying to do what he has to do before he dies, because that is the fate that has been given to him. But he is not, again, he has fought against fate before. So the whole journey is trying to avoid Ragnarok, but they have to actually ensure that Ragnarok happens, because when they fight Odin and finally defeat the Aesir's with Acer is falling down after Ragnarok. So now, at the end, you find a teenage Atreus who wants to find himself, who has to go on his own journey, leave Kratos, and Kratos ends up finding that he's actually found a path to finally finding that inner peace and the peace for the people around him. So I really thought that Kratos as a character is a really well thought out. As a fan, it's a really good way of developing a character, having the both sides of the darker part of him being the emphasis in the beginning, but still seeing the little bits of the nobleness and nobility in him throughout the games. I thought was really spot on, especially towards the end of these Ragnarok. You kind of saw him grow from just being a killing machine to being a compassionate warrior. Really well thought out, really well done. Kratos as a character gets a thumbs up from me. So so with that, definitely this is the end of the first episode. I really appreciate you guys watching and giving it a listen. Again, please subscribe, please like, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.